Hello, for this video I'm going to be giving out an example for a movement to contact. Now the mission would be to clear route whatever or clear this area. They're going to give you a grid and a distance and direction, okay? And what I wanted to highlight though, because this was something that was done in LDAC that I hadn't gotten to experience in any of my FTXs, is that they give you 600 meters or however long the distance of the lane is for a reason. Because you might be tasked out with your mission to clear out a whole road, but you take contact at 300 meters instead of 600 meters. You take them out, and then you haven't indexed yet, and you wonder why. The reason is that you have to complete the full 600 meters before you can index a lane, because you have to complete the mission. That is your task. Okay. Enemy 2 to 3 lightly armed SAPA, possible machine gun with them. Probable course of action is that they might retreat. Most dangerous course of action is that they are fighting from a fixed machine gun position. Left unit mission, second squad trails. Right unit mission, third squad trails behind your squad. You have no priority of fire. You have 2 249s, AT4, and 2 Claymores. Oh, right, I forgot to draw this. And the red marker is going to be used to denote vegetation. Okay, so let's say this is what you see on the map. No hills, not very much terrain feature, and you'll be traveling through some vegetation. But you realize that there's a clearing before you reach your endpoint. What might you want to do after you clear that dense vegetation? Personally, I would head out, and as soon as we start clearing out the vegetation, I'd start splitting up my men into a squad column fire team wedge. If there's enough room for it, always have it in that position, especially if it's a movement to contact, because you're going to want to be able to maneuver your men as easily as possible, especially if you're hit from the front and you might be in a file. It's going to take a lot more work than to just spread out that wedge and to make a line. Okay? So when you're planning for this, first of all is going to be the terrain analysis that you see on the map. You're going to see that the endpoint is possibly really far away from any piece of vegetation, but you have to cross through a clearing. So say you go ahead, you start planning. There's not really much planning you can do for movement to contact, to be honest, other than give a lot of contingencies. Now that's going to be in a later video when I start talking about contingency plans, what to think about, and how to be creative with thinking of original, effective contingency plans, or thinking about situations that you might be in and prepare for that later. So let's say you're walking and then you hit the middle of this clearing where you're hit by a fortified machine gun position. And they start blasting away at you. You're going to do what most cadets do. Get down on the ground, get into a line, start shooting back, hopefully give a sit rep to hire that you've made contact, and then you're going to start maneuvering on the enemy. And here's where I'd like to talk to you about, I guess there's a number of ways to deal with this, and a number of ways you can effectively manage your group. But personally, from experience, trying to set up an L-shaped attack in dense vegetation is very difficult because of your line of sight. So let's just say that you wanted to try to flank them over to the right, and you're set up here. Maybe if you want, which I would probably recommend, is that you fall back for a little bit so you can be able to use the vegetation for at least concealment. Anyways, this is just a hypothetical plan. You pull back into vegetation, you go out, you get a second group to go try to clear the bunker, which it now is, and you're trying to coordinate two elements from vegetation where you have no clear line of sight or communications with the other squad. Now, although this might be a good plan in theory, executing it would be extremely difficult. Okay? So let's just knock that one out for now. So here you are, you're set up in a line, you're getting shot at, you're trying to return fire, and you realize you don't have any grenades. What's one thing you can use against a fortified position that's going to be highly effective, that most people forget they can use? AT4s aren't only for vehicles, they're used well for fortified positions as well. So you start giving covering fire. I forgot to put smoke down under sustainment, but sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. If you do have smoke, you would obviously use it to try to help conceal yourself, since you're in the middle of a clearing and there's a machine gun shooting at you. So you would use AT4 in a fortified position, in which case, now that the machine gun is down, you still have to clear the objective, right? So I've already discussed about why getting into an L-shaped attack would be difficult, because you can't communicate well with the second team that's going out there. So what I would do is that, let's say there's a space in between for Alpha and Bravo team, is to just start bounding up, as a support and assault element, just bound up, like 10 meters, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, and doing whole teams of that and alternating like that until you clear the whole objective, right? Now you've crossed the whole objective, you call out an LOA, at which point, of course, you set up 360 security. Now, security is key because it's something that I feel is glossed over in ROTC a lot, but it really shows a lot of thinking. It shows a lot of your terrain analysis and shows a lot of your domain knowledge by being able to set up your security effectively. So I'll give you guys some time to go ahead and pause and start thinking about how you would best utilize. Let's say you use an AT4, there's no roads nearby. Let's just put an X through that. Where would you put your 2 M249s and 2 Claymores? Okay, so, oh yeah, and also where would you put your strong point? But I guess it's a little bit too late for that. Hopefully you already thought about that beforehand. And this is a little bit more difficult than the rest, and therefore it's a lot more subject to how you would personally do it. Remember, it's the motion, it's showing the tactic you're thinking that's going to help you get that E. Okay, so what I would do is I would probably set up a Claymore and a 249 in the clearing, one of them in the clearing, because that's where you're going to be most effective if the enemy do come. Because if you're in concealment with dense vegetation, you'd be able to get off a lot of rounds before they can start, trying to suppress you back. So probably a 249, and let's just say the 360 security encompasses this area. Okay, I would have a 249 pointed out in that direction towards the clearing, maybe a Claymore near him as well. Where else do you think the enemy might be able to come from? Possibly the other side, possibly on this side. But there is another clearing here as well. So maybe I would put another 249 there, and maybe another Claymore there, and try to, as evenly as possible, distribute my men in a 12 o'clock position. So my strong point would be covering this half of the circle, and maybe a little bit more, This is going to be as close to having an even 360-degree spread as possible, because you're not going to know where they're coming from. You just did a movement to contact. They could have came in and have their original direction of travel, be any direction except from where you've headed from the Alpha Alpha. Okay, so in this case, being able to justify where you put your men, that's going to be what's going to be important. So you realize here, you're sitting in security, you call in some reports, and medevac says they'll be there in half an hour, but you only have right now another 5 or 10 minutes left to complete your lane. And it seems like the TAC isn't really budging. Like, you know, you're all sitting in security, you're kind of looking at him, and then you realize, oh wait, the mission, if you go back here, the mission's a clear route red, 600 meters away. This is the end point. You've cleared, 400 meters in, but you haven't gotten to the end point of the mission. But you might have casualties. You'll most likely have casualties since you took, M249 fire from where the enemy saw fire, and you're in a clearing and they're in a concealed position, and as well as EPWs. So what do? Remember though, utilize as much information, utilize pertinent information from the operative. Second squad is trailing. Third squad is trailing. So, and this is something I learned from LDAC. This is, like I said, I haven't done anything like this in any FTXs, but hopefully we can change that. Is that you give in your reports, you call them, and then you call second squad or third squad using their call signs. Charlie Tree 2, this is Charlie Tree 1, requesting that you guys move up and pick up the EPWs and casualties we have so we can, Charlie Mike, continue the mission. Okay? So say you do that. Say you remember, hey, look at this. I still have 2 more squads of people that are willing to help me out. We're on the same team. You go ahead and you just move out. Complete the mission there. And that's also going to show that you're utilizing all of the resources they give you. You're not just ignoring, the whole op board except for mission, clear route. Let's walk this way until we're, shot at, and then we'll get online and shoot them back. This is going to show you that you're utilizing every bit of information. All right? Thank you very much for watching.